to start by saying these two words, transgender and innovation, are words that we don't usually associate with each other, right? But I'm here to tell you that actually these two words actually have a very long intersectional relationship with each other. I grew up in this tiny little neighborhood in the Philippines, in this little alley. Our house is the one right above those flowers. Very small community. It's a very Catholic environment in the Philippines. So I remember growing up, I've always dreamed of being affirmed as the woman that I truly am. But I remember that every time I would express my femininity, it would be constantly be policed, my identity being denied. So at such a young age, I realized that, the world that I would live through is something that I have to fight for. When I moved to United States in 2001, I was exposed to new ideas. I was exposed to new information about the long history of transgender narratives. I want to speak the names. Proudly, I would love to speak the names of these three wonderful, amazing trans women of color: Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, and Miss Major. These are the three women who were the mothers of queer liberation. These three women made it possible for me to stand here, literally in front of you all. Surviving and thriving as a transgender woman, especially as a transgender person of color, is innovative in and of itself. For the longest time, we had to rely with each other. We had to share resources. We have to share our collective grief and pain and the suffering of our ancestors. But despite of that, there's so many women who have also contributed to innovation and progress. The woman at the New York, on the cover of New York Magazine, Martine Rothblatt is the inventor of Sirius Satellite Radio, a proud transgender woman. She's the current CEO of United Therapeutics Company. The other woman is Lynn Conway, a very wonderful human being that I got to know. In the 1960s, she was a computer scientist at IBM, and she's been credited as one of the women who designed computer systems that were later on being used by computer processing systems. So literally, we are part of the society. When you focus right now in the media, we see a lot of transgender narratives and stories. Even media would talk about that there is a transgender tipping point. However, last year was the most violent in my community. More than 20 trans people were killed. Most of them are transgender people of color. So when media talks about there's a tipping point, and then we see this discriminatory North Carolina bill that prevents trans people to just simply go to the bathroom, I asked this question: where is that tipping point? Just this week, basically, Attorney General Loretta Lynch basically dropped the mic. If you guys have not seen the speech, it's perhaps one of the most passionate speech and statement given by Obama administration. You guys should definitely watch that. And even just today, the Obama administration and the Department of Education just released the most powerful statement protecting transgender students. So as much as there's visibility and there's progress is happening, there's also this new study by J. Walter Thompson and Out Professionals in Media that talks about transgender in advertising. Actually, I'm proud to say that they also cited one of the campaigns that I was a part of. 2 years ago, Marriott Hotels did this campaign called Love Travels. And in this campaign, we did the billboard advertising in magazine and online. They also did, a deeper storytelling about my experiences. And in this study that was recently released last month, they talk about that 75% of people that's part of this study said that transgender people in advertising reflects the reality of our understanding about gender in our culture. People said that 65% of the brands that feature transgender people are considered progressive and courageous and brave. However, when we talk about stories, there's still this big notion of, are people okay with transgender people? However, there's still a big part of misunderstanding about the experiences of what it means to be trans. And stories matter. This is why I started Gender Proud. I co-founded Gender Proud so I could produce content, tell stories about what it means to be trans. There is something powerful when transgender people are telling our own stories, because for the longest time, people told us in our behalf, and it's problematic. We need to own our stories. Recently, we produced this web series at Logo TV called Beautiful as I Want to Be, featuring transgender youth and their dreams and what is possible for them, and partnering them with a mentor. Actually, this coming week, we have our new project with Fusion and Univision talking about what it means for transgender people in New York City to access work. So many things that we're excited about, and you should definitely follow us on Gender Proud on Facebook. So I want to share with you what could potentially happen in the future if we continue this, if we continue pushing for possibility, when we continue asking and demanding transgender rights. I think the beauty of what is happening right now is that when we get to the point of this wonderful trans actress, when they get to play transgender roles in movies as a fully humanized characters and complicated. We know of the wonderful Laverne Cox, Angelica Ross, and Trace Lysette. I also want to introduce you to this really wonderful group of young people, especially, that are gender nonconforming. These are people like Tyler, Jacob, and Jamal, who does not really identify as being male or female. They're living their most authentic self and not apologizing for it. Rigid gender binary is a disservice for all of us. It prevents us from fully realizing our skill set, our talents, and to identify the fullness of our diversity. Even right now in the conversation when we talk about gender equality or women empowerment, all these global initiatives, and then we don't include transgender voices from the very inception, those campaigns become part of the problem because it reinforces rigid gender binary systems. So I want to go back to my first point when I mentioned transgender and innovation. What I truly mean by that is this. For the longest time, transgender people have always been part of civilization. The reality is colonization erased the identities of transgender people. The indigenous communities that have known the roles of transgender people, the sacred roles that we play in these societies. Communities like the Two Spirits in Native American cultures, the Babaian in the Philippines, the Papapini in the Polynesian societies, and many more. So I think when we talk about these things and when we want to move forward in society that is more complex, that is very interconnected, maybe perhaps we need to revisit our relationship with our history and uplift the reality and the fundamental truth and the power of gender fluidity. Thank you very much.